Peace and love, all the above, and I'm back again. I'm back again with another episode of Immortal Knowledge. I am your host, Immortal, and I just wanted to speak on creating entities. Alright, if you haven't seen my other video on creating entities, magical entities to serve you, I suggest you watch that video. Alright, I want to go a little bit in depth on how to create these entities. Alright, all is mine. Once again, as I said in my first video, all is mine. So literally, your intent, your thoughts is key in creating entities for yourself. But one thing you need to know, you have to have something for this entity to do. Alright, it has to have a role within your life. Okay, so when I say a role, you know, you want it to have something to tie into what it looks like, and its personality, and its abilities and stuff like that. So for instance, there's all type of things that, let's start with this. There's all types of things these entities can do for you. Alright, you can have entities for protection. You can have scouts or entities for reconnaissance to bring you back information. Alright, you can just have an entity for good luck. You know, you can have an entity for motivation or inspiration and things like this. You know, you have an entity that just protects your home. So one thing I like to do with my magical entities is I like to, when I'm creating them, when I'm going through the process of creating them, first of all, you want to know what the role of this entity will be. For instance, if I'm making an entity for protection, most likely I want an entity that's fierce, you know. So when you're creating it, you want to visualize something fierce. You know, it could be an animal, you know, something big, something, you know, vicious, or just something with a very powerful presence. You know, a mythical creature. You know, it could be your imaginary friend from, you know, when you were little. If they make you feel safe, why not? You know, if you're making an entity for reconnaissance or to bring you back information, you want something that's swift, something that, you know, that possibly prowls, or something that is not seen, you know, something that can keep its presence hidden. You know, if you're creating something for luck, you know, why not be a rabbit, or, you know, something for good luck, maybe a leprechaun. You know, all these things, when you're actually going in and meditating and focusing your intentions on creating this entity. Okay, when you're doing this, that's just the visual. But that's very important. It's very important to have a visual of what your entity looks like. And, you know, your personality, the personality of this entity, like I said, you know, if it's a lion or something, a talking lion, their attitude is probably going to be a little bit more fierce than other entities, right? So you want that intention, you know. You can even go on a journey, you know, when you're meditating and you're focusing in on what you want this entity to do and what it looks like. You know, you can put a story behind it. And that's actually very, very useful. I've done this a few times, and absolutely a good tool to use. Put a story behind it. Okay, when you're creating this entity, put a story behind it, and sometimes you can just let it flow. You don't even have to have a story, you know, pre-organized. You can actually just let it flow, you know, to see where that energy of that particular entity takes you. All right, which is your energy. But anyway, now when it comes down to sitting down, focusing your intentions, focusing in on what this entity is, their what they look like to you visually, what they sound like, what they smell like, and their attitudes and things like that. Focus in on that and focus in on what you want. The most important thing to focus on is their role, their job. Okay? The most important thing is their job, because that's the whole entire reason that you're creating the entity in the first place. So their role in your life is the most important thing. You need to focus on that the most. All this other stuff was important, but not nearly as important as that. All right? That's honestly your top priority after you visualize what they're going to look like, their temperament and stuff like that. Their role is the most important thing. I would focus on that the most. Okay? So if you're making an entity for protection, you can let that entity know right then and there during your journey or your meditation what needs to be done. You can do it, mentally, or you can even verbalize it. I would say it 3 times what needs to be done. Their main job or role in your life. Let them know verbally. Say it 3 times. And also, it's not really necessary, because your mind is what keeps this entity in check in the first place. But if you want to, you can also have a fail-safe. All right, a fail-safe is just something. So if an entity, for instance, is not doing what that you want them to do, for whatever reason, they want to go rogue or, flip the script on you, switch sides or whatever, which shouldn't happen because your thoughts, is what keeps them in check. So if your mind is in check, they're in check. It's all you're doing if they're not doing what you want them to do. Your mind is what, determines what they do. But if you want, you can have a fail-safe. Like, for instance, you could say, I no longer need your services, such and such. Say it 3 times, and, you can program that fail-safe into that particular entity. And they'll be gone. They will be gone. Okay. Another thing, I don't know how I forgot this, but their names are very important. Okay. Keep it simple. The first thing that comes to you is most likely a powerful name. Something deep down, an inner knowing that this is the name for this particular entity will be a good name. All right. And when you're calling upon this entity, their name is very important. Okay. The vibrations in the name, can also determine what type of energy they will have. Or their nature. Okay. So these are all things to keep in mind while you're creating entities out here. All right. But the main key is all is mind. All is mind. All is mind. So when it comes down to it, the more you're able to direct your thoughts and focus in on your mind and your thoughts, then the more powerful your entity will be, the more success you will have in creating these entities, and the more success they will bring to you. Okay? Not to mention, as I said in my first video, these entities are fed off of your thoughts. Off of you focusing energy or focusing in, focus your thoughts on them. So every once in a while, you will want to give them energy or feed them. Without that, they will die off. They cannot live without your thoughts. So every once in a while, you want to say, hey, such and such, come to me, come to me, come to me. Say it 3 times, their name. And they will come to you, and you can focus in on them, sit down with them, chill with them, give them some of that vital energy. So now you can do it. When it comes down to creating entities, you can do it. Don't be afraid. These are constructs of you, of your thoughts, of your making. Don't forget that. You are in charge. They are tools for you. Okay? So don't forget it. Now, something else to keep in mind, as I said before, this entity is derived from you, your energy, and just like any other entity, person, or being, it's going to have its own personality, its own traits, its own abilities and skill sets. All right? So, not to mention, it's a derivative of your energy. It comes from you. So you can tap into it. That's right. The abilities of your entities are your own in the first place. They come from you. So, for instance, if you have an entity that is for reconnaissance, is really sneaky and covert, then you can tap into that energy in order to, say, for instance, if you get a lot of speeding tickets, you can use that entity to obscure your presence, or you can become invisible to those that seek to do you harm. That could be one of their powers, invisibility. All right? As a protection entity. All right? And as I said before, like, if you want an entity for protection, it could be a big entity with a fierce appearance, and it protects you from physical harm. Okay? And you can call upon this energy for strength, of course, protection. And it could protect your aura, your energy. It could even protect you from negative energy. Whatever you want it to do, you can make it do it. You can tap in. The main thing I want you to get is that you can tap into all of these abilities that you give them. They can just help you tap into it. Whatever mission you send them on, or whatever you want them to do, whatever you program them to do, they will do it according to your thoughts. All right? And that's something I love to do. I love to call on them to come forth and intensify or put a magnifying glass on my abilities. So if I don't want to be seen, if I want to be invisible, I call forth my covert entity, and we do it together. And it's crazy. Like, if you don't want to be seen, if you make an entity specifically for that, it does work. Trust me, it does work. I don't have my boss like walk right past me, and normally, that's almost impossible. He pulls me for everything. But if I call that forth, call that energy forth, then I'm not seen. Trust me. This is probably going to be a topic that I'm going to expand on as I go. I definitely probably will hit up this topic a few other times. But that's it for right now. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Like, comment, share, all the above. And I'll catch you on the next video. Immortal, out.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And hit that bell on the way out. And remember, there's power in what you know.